The sound of cleated boots pounded on the wooden floor, and shouts echoed through the Westbrook Military Academy gym. The smell of sweat, the rubber from the exercise mat, and the cool air from the air conditioning blended together, creating an atmosphere you only find where soldiers train. A group of young cadets had just finished their afternoon tactical session. They laughed loudly, slapped each other on the shoulders, flexed for show, and talked about the upcoming evaluation. Nearby, a black woman in her 40s quietly mopped the floor. Her dark janitorial uniform, the worn rubber gloves, and the steady calm in her eyes made it seem like nothing in the world could faze her. No one bothered to ask her name. To them, she was simply the cleaning lady. Ryan Cooper, tall, handsome, and the son of a well-known general, leaned back on a bench and sneered. "Hey, Mess, that spot over there is still dirty. Or do you want to clean up the sweat of our special forces?" he said with a derisive laugh. Laughter erupted. Blake Turner whistled along, and Jared Smith joined in, pointing at her. She only smiled without answering and continued to push the mop slowly. Ryan was not finished. His eyes landed on a long scar running down her wrist. "You get scratched by a cat, or did you fight a mop?" he mocked. The laughter spread like a familiar joke. Then, a small detail made the group freeze. Blake bent down and picked up a bunch of keys she had accidentally dropped. Attached was an old tarnished silver badge. A crow with outstretched wings was engraved on it, the insignia of the Rapid Response Force, the kind of badge only people who had been to the battlefield had the right to wear. Ryan frowned and turned the badge over in his hand. "You find this at a flea market?" he scoffed. The woman lifted her head. Her eyes met his with a quiet, cold stillness. Her voice was low and measured. "You boys are not ranked enough to understand what that means." The room went silent. No one laughed anymore. Afternoon light streamed through the window and flashed off the silver badge in Ryan's hand, making it gleam like a distant memory. From that moment, no one in the gym knew that the woman mopping the floor had once made an entire unit salute. Who was she, really? An ordinary cleaner, or someone Westbrook owed respect to? Her name was Evelyn Brooks. In the Academy personnel files, next to her name were only 2 words: temporary staff. Every morning she arrived earlier than anyone else, quietly sweeping the training hall, cleaning every step, then disappearing when the first bell rang. No one knew where she went, where she lived, or why she chose that job. To most people, she was an anonymous shadow among gleaming medals. A middle-aged black woman in a world of confident, privileged young white men. She spoke little, did not mingle, and revealed nothing of her past. But sometimes, when the late afternoon sun cut through the window, people would see her pause for a moment and stare across the training ground as if that place had once been part of her life and she could not reach it anymore. Rumors began to circulate around the academy. Some said she had served in the military. Others claimed she was the widow of a deceased veteran. No one had proof, only curiosity mixed with contempt. Meanwhile, the group of cadets, Ryan, Blake, and Jared, still treated her as entertainment after training. Ryan, the son of Brigadier General Cooper, always believed honor ran in his blood. He believed strength, status, and reputation defined a real soldier. To Ryan, an older black woman with a mop could not possibly understand the glory of modern military life. One afternoon, while Ryan was swinging a training baton and Evelyn walked by, a friend called out, "I heard she used to do something in the military, Ryan. Some people say she knows more than we think." Ryan snorted. If she were that good, she would not be pushing a mop now. The friend shook his head quietly. "Ryan, I do not know, but I heard the sergeant in charge say quietly, 'Do not touch her. She is not simple.'"
Ryan threw the towel down and laughed defiantly. Not simple, huh? Let me see how complicated she really is. From a distance, Evelyn silently continued mopping, as if she had not heard words like that. But in her eyes, there was something hard to name, a sadness and a toughness. As if she had heard words like that 1,000 times before. At each time, she let them pass, like a breeze through the old barracks. She knew better than anyone that sometimes, to teach people respect, you first let them underestimate you.
The next morning, the training siren shrieked across the field. Second-year cadets were ordered to participate in a simulated tactical assessment. Rescue the hostage from a besieged building. A familiar mission, but high pressure, because the head instructor was watching in person today. Ryan, Blake, and Jared were assigned as team leaders. They entered the mock building, put on headsets, and received their orders. Outside, people crowded to watch the tactical feed on the screen. In the first minute, they moved chaotically, leaving corners uncovered and failing to signal. Jared accidentally stepped on a water bottle, making a noise. "The hostage has been neutralized," the system announced flatly. The team failed in less than a minute. Sighs and a few quiet chuckles came from the viewing area. Ryan flung his helmet to the ground, furious. "It is not my fault. He did not keep his position." Blake argued. Jared reacted angrily. The three of them shouted at each other like they had just lost a game, not a life-or-death evaluation. While they were yelling, a calm, deep voice spoke from behind. "If this were a real mission, you would be dead within the first 40 seconds. The group turned. Evelyn stood a few meters away, still holding the mop, her expression indifferent. Ryan sneered. "Oh, you learned that in mop school?" She did not answer. She stepped closer and pointed at the tactical diagram still displayed on the screen. "You went the wrong way at checkpoint 3. The team leader did not signal before entering the room, and the right side man forgot to clear his blind spot." She continued, her voice even and decisive. "In 10 seconds, you lost formation. In 20 seconds, the enemy identified your movement. In 40 seconds, the whole team was wiped out. That is not an assumption. That is reality I have seen." The air went heavy. Nearby cadets fell silent. Ryan felt suddenly short of breath. The way she spoke, the precision with which she described the mistakes, was chilling. Not theoretical, not someone who had read it somewhere. It was as if she had been there, in the smoke and the shouting. The head instructor nearby lost color. His gaze fixed on her. Surprise mingled with suspicion. Only someone who had been to the battlefield could speak with that tone. Evelyn set the mop down, nodded once, and turned away, leaving the training ground steeped in silence. For the first time in his life, Ryan did not know whether to laugh or to lower his head. All he knew was that something about this woman made the medals on his chest feel suddenly weightless. That night, the lights in Ryan's dorm room stayed on later than usual. The three of them sat around a laptop, their faces filled with frustration and curiosity. Ryan spoke quietly. "I do not buy it. She is just a janitor. There is no way she could talk tactics that precisely." Blake smirked. "Then let's find out. She cleans the equipment room tomorrow, right? Let's put a small camera in there. Maybe we'll get something fun for the whole academy to laugh about." A childish, crude plan, but to them, it was proof she was just pretending to be dangerous. The following night, the tiny camera was hidden deep in a corner of the training room. After everyone had gone home, Evelyn walked in as usual, carrying her mop, her bucket of water, and the set of keys with the silver badge. She turned on a small light, But instead of cleaning, she took off her gloves and removed her dark janitor jacket. Underneath, her arms were covered with scars, battle scars, the kind that do not come from a lifetime of mopping floors. On her left arm was a tattoo of a crow with spread wings, the insignia of Raven Ops, a covert response unit believed to have been disbanded nearly 10 years ago. She began her routine. No music, no words, just cold, precise movements of close combat training. Her hands spun the training knife, shifted directions, and threw a dummy twice her weight to the floor. Her breathing stayed steady, her motions clean. Every turn was a kill, every kick a takedown. The next morning, when Ryan played the footage, the room went dead silent. No one said a word. Only a sharp intake of breath when the Raven Ops tattoo appeared clearly on the screen. Jared swallowed hard. She's not normal. Ryan rushed to the academy library to dig through old archives. The name Evelyn Brooks did not exist in any personnel, training, or retirement record. But in the classified section, there was a similar name, Major E. Brooks, a special operations officer listed as missing in action during a secret mission in Syria 8 years ago. The note read, "Presumed dead, no body recovered." Ryan froze in front of the screen. She was not pretending. She had been an officer, a soldier, and possibly a commander. The next morning, during the grand inspection ceremony, Commander Caldwell appeared alongside senior officers. When the formation settled, his voice suddenly rang out. "Major Brooks, step forward." Murmurs swept through the field. Ryan's heart pounded. Evelyn stepped out of the line of service staff, removed the cleaning staff tag from her chest, and put on the old silver badge again. She stood tall, her eyes firm as steel. Caldwell spoke slowly, every word heavy with meaning. "You have just completed a special evaluation, and the woman you have mocked all this time is the officer who commanded 47 successful counterterrorism operations without losing a single soldier." The field went silent. The 3 young men could only bow their heads, faces burning with shame. The silver badge on her chest gleamed under the sunlight, shining like a truth that no one could ignore. Respect, not for rank, but for the person behind it. No one said a word when the ceremony ended. The wind swept across the training ground, carrying the sound of flags snapping and the heavy breaths of those who had just witnessed the unbelievable. Ryan stood still, eyes fixed on the ground. Blake and Jared did not dare to look up. The woman they once mocked and looked down on now stood beside the commander with a rank they could only dream of. But Evelyn did not look back at them with anger. She simply stepped forward, her tone calm but clear enough for the entire formation to hear. "I do not need an apology. I only need to see that you have learned what the military truly teaches: respect and humility." Ryan slowly lifted his head, meeting her gaze. There was no hatred, no contempt, but only resolve. It made him feel smaller than he had ever felt. Commander Caldwell stepped up and spoke in a deep voice. "From today, Major Evelyn Brooks officially returns to duty, and you 3, Ryan Cooper, Blake Turner, and Jared Smith, will be the first team in her new training program." A wave of whispers rippled through the ranks. Evelyn only nodded. "The program is called Protocol Honor," she said, "and the first lesson has nothing to do with weapons or tactics."
The next morning, Ryan and his 3 friends were assigned to the common area. Not the firing range, not the training field. In front of them were buckets, mops, and a duty roster. "Clean the floors, maintain the quarters, prepare the meals," she said, "because the strongest soldier is the one who is not afraid of the smallest task." Ryan and his 3 friends worked in silence. Every sweep of the mop, every drop of sweat was a lesson. No one laughed anymore. No one looked at her the same way again. When the morning ended, the training ground shone under the sun. Evelyn walked past, uniform pressed, the Raven Ops insignia bright on her chest. On both sides, rows of cadets stood at attention and saluted. No voices, no mockery, only absolute respect. For the first time since entering the academy, Ryan understood what honor truly meant. It was not rank. It was not the name written in a record. It was knowing when to bow to those who deserve it, even if they once held the mop.
A year had passed since the day the janitor stepped out of line and changed Westbrook Academy forever. The name Evelyn Brooks was now engraved on the Academy's wall of honor beneath the words, "The Guide of Honor and Humility." She had been promoted to colonel and appointed as director of the National Soldier Character Development Program, a curriculum now implemented across the country. Commander Caldwell once said, "We can train people to shoot well and run fast, but only Evelyn Brooks can teach them how to be decent soldiers." As for Ryan Cooper, the once arrogant cadet, he had become a tactical instructor. In every class, he told the story of the woman with the mop, with the deepest respect he could muster. And the first lesson he taught new recruits was not about weapons, but about humility. In the Academy's main hall, a new sign hung proudly beneath the national flag. "The floor you clean today may be the ground you stand tall on tomorrow." Every new cadet entering Westbrook heard the story of the black woman janitor. No one could forget the calm look she wore amid their laughter, or the way she stood tall during the parade, quietly putting back on the badge they once thought was junk. And every time the story was retold, someone would quietly nod, as if realizing something true. Real strength does not lie in commands. It lies in how we treat those weaker than ourselves. The final voice echoed slowly, but it struck deep. Never underestimate someone just because of the position they hold, because you never know how many battles they have fought just to stand there. If this story made you rethink the word respect, share it and comment. I will not judge others by appearances.